Listen. So I finally figured out the CAPTCHA for my password and was able to log back in just in time for another season of movies and TV. So in order to catch up, I'm here to combine all of the best from theaters, streaming, and all of the hidden gems in hopes of putting another must-watch on your list. Let me explain. So I'm going to start with all of the movies before getting into the docs and then my favorite shows. So let's break down some of the honorable mentions, starting with the indies, especially because we've had a lot of Oscar shortlist movies and festival films finally get streaming releases, a bunch of which I would recommend. But I want to start with something that I haven't talked about, like Our Hero Balthazar, which I caught randomly at the Alamo after a Wrigley game, and man, I was not expecting what this was. It's about a rich New York kid who cries on camera for likes and then gets DM'd by a troll who he decides to go all the way to Texas to befriend. It is also a dark comedy, so what he's really doing is that he's trying to go stop a mass shooter so that he can impress his crush. It's like the kids from Eddington had a whole movie, or like the drama if it was from Rachel's point of view. Jaden Martell has done variations of this character, and I think he always kills it, but somehow I had missed that Asa Butterfield was in this until the credits, and I was like, that was him?
Is that sincere? Are you actually crying?
That's a good question.
Irupcha is another indie that I caught at the Music Box, where they had a prequel zine to go along with it, on top of a director-producer Q&A, which, if you can catch Jeremy O. Harris live, do yourself a favor. But here they're continuing their collaborations on what they call the Broke New Wave, where they just make movies on the go and leave it all up to the vibes. Sometimes that works, sometimes it's a movie. Here I thought it was very interesting as it follows Charlie XCX as she goes to Poland with her boyfriend, who's about to propose to her, but then reunites with an old friend who she believes she has a special bond with, since every time they meet up, a volcano erupts.
Why are you here? Mount Etna erupted yesterday.
Mad Bills to Pay is about a dude hustling in the Bronx selling mixed drinks out of a cooler until he gets his girlfriend pregnant. This one had won a special jury award out of Sundance in the next category, so it has a very unique approach to how it observes his life. It's shot in a way where all of the colors pop and are super vibrant. It's very observational, but it also serves as a nice gem about growing up in order to meet your responsibilities.
Stop stressing. You trying to get that money, babe.
Moving on to the horror section, we have had a year of just hits after hits, or at least interesting movies after interesting movies in the genre. We've gotten a reboot of a horror documentary that gets turned into a thriller that gets into the horrors of revenge, a horror action movie that mixes Tarantino and The Raid, to even a horror comedy that was pitched by the director as Mean Girls but with witches, which is The Craft.
What do you want to be up to tonight?
But some of the ones that I want to highlight on their own would be Heel, or as it's known in some places, The Good Boy. It comes from the director who had done Corpus Christi, and I had put one of his previous movies on our watch list thumbnail, so you know it was going to stand out, especially since this one has Stephen Graham and Andrea Riseborough, who aren't just great actors. Here they're playing weirdos who kidnap troublemakers in order to turn them into, well, good boys.
Bad boy! Bad boy! Bad boy! Bad boy! Bad boy!
Honey Bunch was one that I gave a nod to in the last video, and after watching it again, man, I had to give it a bigger shout out because it's one of those where the second half changes everything. It's about a woman who wakes up from a coma with only fragments of what happened while being taken care of at a secret facility that her husband has taken her to. It even comes from a directing couple who previously made this movie called Violation, and if you know that movie, you know that these two are not scared to take a swing.
What if I have permanent brain damage?
Then I'll take care of you.
Even if I'm a vegetable?
Especially if you're a vegetable.
Another unique horror comes in the music drama Mother Mary, where Anne Hathaway plays a pop star as big as T Swift, trying to reinvent herself after an accident, and now she has to reunite with her best friend, who is also her costume designer, who they had a very bad falling out with. Most of it happens in one place, and it is one of those that has so many metaphors, even the characters complain about it, but this idea of how art is created from pain, or even manipulated from it, is something that I found pretty interesting. Michaela Cole's also been on a run, especially with the other movie that she had, which was The Christophers, where she plays an art forger trying to dupe Ian McKellen's character, so she's really on a roll. Both of these movies may be small, they may also not be for everyone, but they're two that I hope to cover more in the future because I keep thinking about them.
Let's cost her out. Together.
Hokum is another creepy one from Damian McCarthy, who is obsessed with haunted figurines. I really liked his last one, Oddity, where it follows a blind woman who also deals with some creepy figures. And this is a solid follow-up where we see a writer, played by Adam Scott, go out to the middle of nowhere to this Irish hotel where he's trying to spread his parents' ashes. And can you guess what he comes across?
there lived a witch.
Wrapping up my honorables would be Lifehack, which is a nice little gem about a heist that happens all online. It comes from the same studio that made Searching and all of those Screen Life movies, and I thought it was a solid thriller about 4 teens trying to jack some Bitcoin, only to find out that you're still not safe hiding behind your computer screen.
I know exactly who you are, and I know everything your team has stolen.
Now, before we get into my top 10, a big thanks to this video sponsor, Storyblocks, that not only helps to make videos, they're in the video. Their collection helps creators and businesses tell stories by providing high-quality footage, music, effects, pictures, and a bunch of easy-to-use templates in their library that has over 7 million assets. So if I need a shot of the best team in baseball, boom, in 4K, I got a shot of the best team in baseball. Storyblocks helps you to tell a better story by getting the right shot. That way you can upgrade your B-roll, you can add establishing shots, or you can get easy-to-use transitions that'll elevate whatever message you're trying to get across. And for those who deal with a lot of music claims, especially here on YouTube, they have an entire audio library that not only makes your stuff more professional, it helps prevent those issues. And they even have a whole copyright guarantee for the footage that you have. We're also in this era of people falling for AI clips, so Storyblocks went out of their way to put a no Gen I statement where they guarantee that their stuff is human made. Because that's where we're at. On top of that, these are fully licensed videos that you get access to all as a part of your monthly or annual subscription, so there's no a la carte thing that you have to deal with or tokens that you have to keep an eye on. You have the license, so you're covered whether it's your video or one for a client. It's a great tool to speed up your workflow, saving an average of 3.5 hours a week for users, and it all works inside all of the most popular editing programs like After Effects, Premiere Pro. You put in that plugin and you're ready to go. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, and yours, click the link down below to start telling better stories and get a limited time deal only available through my link. Now here are the 10 best movies from this spring that are always shifting. Really, it's all about just highlighting them and putting them on your radar. Starting off with I Love Boosters, the goofiest version of Ocean's 11, where a group of ladies rob fashion stores, especially from this big corporation that's technically been robbing others. Boots Riley previously made Sorry to Bother You, which I'm a really big fan of, and he even has a hilarious joke in this one that plays off that movie. But you know, if it's him, he's gonna be giving you this very socialist message distributed by a capitalist company. But it's so lively, over the top, and clever that it makes sense why he's doing in real life what the characters are doing in this movie. Plus, they gave out the goofiest merch if you bought Dolby tickets for this, because it was the shoplifting tags that play if you leave the Dolby.
Oh, come on, let's take all of it.
Blue Heron is about a family moving into their new home in the 90s, told from the perspective of the youngest daughter as it starts revealing the troubles caused by the oldest brother. If you're a fan of indies like Aftersun, then keep an eye on this one, especially since in my opinion, it has one of the best posters of the year.
Stop it! Talk to me! Hey, talk to me!
Project Hail Mary seems to be the IMAX movie that might top a lot of people's lists, even though we have The Odyssey and Dune on the horizon. It's a movie where Ryan Gosling gets sent into space to save the world from this thing that's eating the sun called astrophage, and ends up befriending an alien. I think it's a decent space movie, but it's really a bromance film at the heart, which says a lot that a dude had to go all the way out there to make a rock-solid friend.
We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.
I Swear is a British film about the real-life John Davidson, who's dedicated his life to teaching and learning about Tourette syndrome, which he has, and I thought it was a really great performance from Robert Aramayo, who I only knew as young Ned Stark, but here it's a movie that really gets into the nitty-gritty of what it's like living with this. It also created a very real discussion in real life during award season, so there's definitely layers to it, and this is a movie that doesn't stray away from things that are uncomfortable.
Oh, fuck off, you wanker.
Well, it's nice to meet you too.
Omaha is a Sundance hidden gem starring John Magaro, where he goes on a road trip with his family, but keeps it a secret on where they're going. It's a pretty short one, but it's definitely a sad one that'll stick with you.
Is Dad mad at us? I don't know.
Obsession is the horror movie of the year that's made people so obsessed it's jumped to the top horror and all-time list. I have seen 2 people arguing about this movie, and they gave it the same rating. They were arguing about the same point that they agreed on. It's about this guy who decides to make a wish for his friend to love him more than anything in the world, and like a monkey's paw, things go wrong. It has some of the creepiest shots drenched in shadows, while also being surprisingly funny. And while it does have a lore that will leave you with a lot of questions, the biggest cue is finding out who's really the one who's obsessed. Also, I know that the Alamo Drafthouse is a bit more expensive when it comes to tickets, but they have these movie parties that they host. I think those are definitely worth it, because I went to one for this movie, and it was pretty cool what they gave you to take home, because now I have my own One Wish Willow that granted me 2 more Wish Willows.
One wish willow. You only get one wish.
Tuner comes from the guy who had won the Oscar for Navalny at such a young age that it kind of built up into the script about a piano prodigy. Not only does his condition cause him to not pursue the talents that he wanted, but he ends up getting a job tuning pianos for rich people, which leads to him untuning their safes to make some money on the side. I had missed this one at a couple of festivals, but was able to get some tickets for the Dolby showings that they were doing, and they ended up handing out these Dustin Hoffman figurines, which are in the movie. But it's just so funny that I've gotten more bobbleheads from AMC than I have from the baseball games I've gone to.
Nobody plays the piano.
It's tragic. It still needs a tune-up.
Another one that I would recommend, but I know it comes with an asterisk, is The Drama. It is an annoying movie, but a great one. It has fantastic performances that get under your skin and is one of those where I just personally really like when a movie can spin off to so many discussions, where it can get people talking, like Obsession, where people are even arguing about it. And this one definitely has that, since it's about a couple who's about to get married when they decide to play a game of saying the worst thing they've ever done, and that ruins everything.
Are you serious? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna order an Uber.
Emma, what the fuck?
Another movie I want to highlight that I saw a couple years ago at Tribeca is this international film called People and Meat, about 3 elderly people who've been living alone until they find each other and start having meals together. And then they realize that they have the best excuse to go out and eat the most expensive meats because they could just dip without anyone seeing. And quickly they become these infamous dine and dashers. It's beautiful, delightful, yet also heartbreaking. But the saddest part about this is that you can only watch it through another streaming service called the Film Movement Plus. I had even gotten an email that Michael had done so well, Lionsgate Plus is coming out, and it's just like, enough. If only there was a way to dine and dash these greedy streamers. Topping my movies this season would be Late Shift, which I had shouted out in my Oscars video when it got shortlisted, but now finally has a full release. Leone previously was in Teacher's Lounge, which I thought was great, and here she delivers another solid role as a nurse who's swamped during an overnight shift. It even comes from a director who's meticulous in how she shows the whole process, and I think is a masterclass in directing, something she's continued with her Sundance movie that's coming up called Frank and Lewis. But this one is easily for the Pitt fans out there, and honestly really anyone who likes good films, so keep this one on your radar.
Es tut mir sehr leid. Es gab noch einen kleinen Notfall und wir sind leider heute nur zu zweit.
Moving on to the documentaries, I have a quick rundown of films like Cheech and Chong's Last Movie, where they may have had more smoke for each other than they did on 420s. Louis Theroux went inside the manosphere and made a documentary out of content creators and the behind the scenes and the hate that drives them. The Streak is a sports doc that looks back at one of the longest winning runs in baseball and the people that came together for it and the aftermath. And Zach Galifianakis gave us This Is a Gardening Show, which actually was really delightful and funny.
If I were to offer a remedy to the human condition, it would be a garden. Or acid.
But looking at my top 3 docs, I'm starting with Untold Jailblazers. It's one of those like Netflix 30 for 30s that they've been doing that are always like problematic. And this looks back at the Portland Trailblazers and all the problems they faced on and off and on the court during Rasheed Wallace and Stoudemire's run.
I knew I was gonna get booed. I didn't think I was gonna get booed like that.
The Dark Wizard is a 4-part HBO doc about climber Dean Potter, who not only did some of the craziest stunts, he's the dude who ended up inspiring Alex Honnold and his free solos. And then it turns out they had beef.
He did things that will never be repeated.
I've hurt my head.
And shouldn't be repeated.
But at the top of my docs would be the Billie Eilish Hit Me Hard and Soft documentary experience thingy that they did. It's a collab between her and James Cameron where they filmed a sold-out show in Dolby 3D, and I made sure to catch it in that format before it left. And not only does it get into the psyche of what goes into a show like that, but the 3D had me thinking people were dancing in the front row like I was at a Michael showing. The angles of her on stage mixed with the surround sound of the concert were phenomenal, that it really was just a cherry on top that her music also happens to be great. Finally, I got a quick list of my top TV shows from this season, starting off with Big Mistakes, which is on Netflix and already has a season 2. It follows 2 goofy siblings who end up getting blackmailed by an underground crime syndicate, and yet it's their mom that makes them more nervous.
Nicholas! Are you out of your mind?
Beef Season 2 is nowhere near Season 1, but I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did online, especially since it felt like a lot of the hate went to the younger couple and how toxic they were. But like Obsession, I thought that was kind of the point. Season 2 contrasts between 2 couples who work at this elite country club that are not only at different points of their career, but in their relationships, and also blackmail.
Shh.
shit.
The Comeback is an HBO show that happens like once a decade that I've been catching up on because for season 3, it's back for this decade, and it's pretty funny. It's a mockumentary where Lisa Kudrow plays a celebrity who really wants to be on a sitcom, but in between every comeback, she's doing the most embarrassing things to stay relevant.
Josh, first episode is wonderful.
Yeah, that's not us. That's Al.
Is there a third writer?
That's the best part. It's being written by AI.
Uh-huh. Wow. Well, that's new.
DTF St. Louis was one that you guys had bumped up on my watch list that's also on HBO, and this one follows a love triangle between Harbor, Bateman, and the Linda Cardellini until one of them dies and it shifts between being a comedy to a full-on murder mystery.
No one's normal.
So good. Just looks that way from across the street.
Marco's Got Money Troubles is the Apple show where Elle Fanning gets pregnant by her college professor, and the only way to make ends meet is for the internet to meet her ends and starts an OnlyFans.
In order to earn income for my child, I've been doing some work on the internet.
Ted Season 2 is the prequel show about Seth MacFarlane's teddy bear when he's in high school, and I really liked the first season of Ted when it came out, when it was known as like an event series, but now that it's got a Season 2, a lot of the people who didn't like the first one are finally on board with it and its humor, which is sad because it's now over.
You and I are now adult members of society.
Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Rooster is the newest comedy from Bill Lawrence, who's done all of these shows, set in a college campus where Steve Carell plays a famous author, bonding with his daughter, who's a professor, who just went through something really embarrassing.
Everybody knows. Place like a fishbowl. That guy knows. He doesn't know. Excuse me, you know that my husband left me for a grad student, right?
Yes.
Euphoria is now in Season 3, and look, yeah, it is more demented than ever. I know it's a show that people love to hate, but still tune in for, and to me, it is terrible. It's problematic. It's about desperation and how people get there, and all that I think works. It's all filled with a cast of award winners. It's got the best production design on TV, and somehow Season 3 is wilder than the first two, but it's fully embraced being this crime epic. It's taken Rue's drug dealing to another level, with Echo playing a crazy mob boss. It's showcasing OF as the new Hollywood side hustle by leaning into Sweeney's online persona, and it also has Jacob Elordi going all out and being tormented more than he did in Frankenstein.
You walk up into my house, dance with my girls, and you don't even introduce yourself.
Home, motherfucker!
From is now in its 4th season, and out of all the shows, this is the one flirting with being the closest thing to a show like Lost, and it even stars Michael. It's about a town where people get stuck at, but they can never leave no matter how hard they try, with the big twist being that every night these mysterious things come out to attack. And so all the survivors have to convince every new group that gets stranded there to get inside, not realizing they'll probably never get out.
One way or another, the truth always comes out.
I would make sure it doesn't.
And finally, I got the final season of Hacks, about a legendary comedian and her young writer who are now dealing with being blacklisted after getting the highlight of their career, The Tonight Show, which then ends all Tonight Shows, which is pretty funny. There's a reason Gene's been sweeping the Emmys, and unlike other shows that comment and joke about the industry, I'm telling you, this one holds up.
You know, when you're away from the spotlight, you have time to think about what really matters. Bam! The spotlight!
Other than that, I'm curious to know your thoughts on what shows or movies you would add, what you're looking forward to the most. I do eventually want to do one on like breaking down streaming services, especially since, you know, there's been like things that you won't find anywhere else. Disney's been like reanimating a lot of their songs in sign language, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't think it justifies raising the prices again, but you know, I do want to make a breakdown like I did back in 2020, ranking all the differences between the streaming services. But I'm pretty sure I know the sign language and how I feel about Disney raising the prices. I also want to make a video on my favorite shorts, especially with festivals. One that is out that I would recommend is Favors. It's out on Vimeo, and it's a simple premise. A woman's trying to get rid of a baby that she claims was given to her by another woman. On top of that, you know, there's a bunch of movies that are out there that I may not have mentioned or may have missed. I'm always curious to see what you guys would shout out. You know, you do got Michael that has had audience split, but Jafar's scene, especially when he was doing Human Nature, I thought was pretty solid. Pizza Movie was one that got memed to death, but I still think it has some funny jokes, so definitely check out that one. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna take a break and watch more movies.